Pittsburgh Steeler fans, welcome back to another episode of the Scho Bro Show. It's Tuesday night. It's just after 9 p.m. Eastern, and it's 2 days away from the NFL draft. But you know what? We don't have to worry about that because it's Tuesday, and we're here. I am Dave Schofield, co-editor of BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, your one-stop shop for all things Pittsburgh Steelers. And with me, I can keep saying it, as always, is my big brother, Rich. Rich, how are you tonight?
Doing wonderful tonight. Doing great. For those of you watching live on Facebook or YouTube, yes, I have been in the sun. I have been fishing for 2 days. Yes, I wore sunblock. But when you combine sun and 30-mile-an-hour winds, yes, you come out looking a little red.
So. A little bit tomatoey. We can say that. A little bit. I don't know how to say it.
The wind was the worst.
Yeah. That I can, and that'll get you even if you're wearing the sunblock. But luckily for those listening to us,
hold on.
Go ahead.
I got to say one more thing about this. So yesterday, the first day of 2 in a row days of fishing started with the temperature below freezing.
Mm-hmm.
It was 30 degrees when we hit the water yesterday, and it stayed cold until about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Then it got warmer and was 60s. Yes, medium rare.
Ryan O'Toole says Big Bro is medium rare.
No, trust me, I'm regular rare. I'm just rare. All right, but by the time we were done fishing today, it was almost 80 degrees.
Yeah, it was in the mid 80s here today. It was a nice toasty day, but it wasn't humid.
Yeah, but you weren't below freezing with frost yesterday morning.
That's true. Although I was below freezing over the weekend. But you know what? It's April. That's the weather you get in the Mid-Atlantic in April. And Pittsburgh had a bunch of snow, right?
Yes. Do you know what else happens in April?
The NFL draft. Yes, we can stop. It's funny because last week we were talking, someone all said in there, so you guys love mock drafts. We were talking about mock drafts. Last week we talked about mock drafts that you don't trust. I did that as an article over the weekend of what we talked about. Man, people enjoyed it. It was fun.
Mock drafts.
You know what? But we're going to kind of talk. It's funny because you know who else hates mock drafts?
If he wasn't already my new favorite GM, that would be Steelers GM Kevin Colbert.
Kevin Colbert. Well, he didn't say he hates it. He said they're a complete waste of time because he talked about how.
That's why I say I hate them, because they're a complete waste of time.
Well, here's what's interesting. You know, they can be fun if they're your thing. Enjoy them. Yes, especially the simulators. If it's just your thing to read mock drafts that other people have done, do it. But honestly, we are at the point right now that there are some people who have kind of, I use this term in a message I sent out to Matty P, which I don't think he's got yet because I think he's been asleep ever since. I sent it this afternoon here, East Coast, because, you know, you got those wonderful Australia times. And it was, people are kind of brainwashed. And usually when you hear brainwashed, you think it's really bad. I mean, what I mean is like our heads have soaked in what so many other people have said where players should be, that we are so sure we know what these players should be and where they should go, and we don't. And because
I hope we don't.
I hope so too. I hope so too. And I mean, and that's kind of what it is. And I mean, so it's when I'm saying it's not like I'm saying people are making you do these terrible things. No, I'm meaning we have been saturated with so much information that can't possibly be the right information, that we think we have all the knowledge, and really we don't. It doesn't mean that we can't predict who the Steelers might take, because you know that's something we still want to do. But we're so, this player is going to be here in this round. This player, this is a reach. They'll never be there. All those things. We really don't know. And when one general manager, Kevin Colbert, who in their Monday press conference, which we're going to talk about this a good bit before we get into the topic, because, you know, Brian and Tony didn't get to really cover it last night because they had their own user mock draft. I assume they didn't talk about it too much at the beginning. I missed the beginning. I was putting my boys to bed, but I caught most of it. that there's a lot to dissect. And Kevin Colbert said they used to run mock drafts. He said, yes, Steelers Pittsburgh, I shall mock your mock draft. Yeah, and that's why the word mock is in there. They deserve to be mocked. And I will not be mocked. Sorry. But Kevin Colbert says they've done these. They used to do it. They used to run simulations of who's taking who, how's it going to fall for us. And they found that over the years, it was a complete waste of their time. They spent all this time and energy trying to predict what other teams will do, and they can't. And they have much more inside information than what we ever would, because they're rubbing elbows with guys at pro days and with scouts and with coaches and stuff, and they still don't know. So that is why I just can't wait for the real draft, because, get the mock out of here. We want the real thing. Don't you think so, bro?
That's right. That's right. Just bring on the draft.
Yeah. So
let's see how it all works out. And I can sit there and check. Let's see. That one they got wrong. 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 Oh, look, they got the first 3 picks right and none after that.
Yeah. And it's funny because I thought there was some crazy stuff going on with Brian's draft, the people that, were in the live chat, that I just thought it was, like, for example, we said the mock drafts you don't trust are the ones that don't have Trevor Lawrence going number 1 because you're trying to get too cute or you're trying to overthink it. Well, in the mock draft Monday, they had Zach Wilson going 7. I don't see Zach Wilson going 7 because if he doesn't go 2, I think he goes 3. But that's just what I think. I think that's crazy, but yet something crazy like that is possibly going to happen, and then you'll get the trades and everything else. It's just really great stuff. But let's break down a couple things.
Do you know what I think?
Okay. I'm ready for it.
I don't think.
You don't think?
No, it hurts my head too much. So I just don't. Yeah.
Yeah. Just don't think. So let's break down some stuff from this press conference. Well, first of all, they didn't make a big hoopla about it, but they were in person. This was not a Zoom call. This was in person. This was at Heinz Field. This was not at the Southside Complex. I can't remember the name of the room. I've been in this room a bunch of times when I would go to Family Fest. They would often have like they'd have like bouncy houses and stuff in there to do whenever they would have their Family Fest, which normally would be this Saturday. And normally as a season ticket holder, I would get free tickets to go, but they didn't have it last year. And it still makes sense to not have it this year. Hopefully they can bring it back next year. I'll never forget the first one I went to. I rubbed shoulders literally with first round draft pick Bud Dupree. I brushed up against him just to, dude was solid. Dude, really. But what they were,
and I'm sure you were squishy.
Yes, I was squishy.
Okay.
But they were in the big room doing their thing. Great to hear Kevin Colbert and Mike Tomlin play off each other. If you didn't catch it, go back and catch it. Good stuff. Or we covered a lot of stuff from it at BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, your one-stop shop for all things Pittsburgh Steelers. Various things. The one quote that I like, it's funny because I'm actually going to have an article that includes this quote in it coming up soon. And that was, we're wide open. That's what Kevin Colbert said about the draft. We're wide open. Now, even if they weren't wide open, do you think he's going to not? Of course he's going to say they're wide open. You know what I'm saying? He did this with the statement of, we've got 75 players right now. If we had to play this weekend, we have the players to play a game this weekend. Right. So there's nothing in that, which means all the draft is going to do, hopefully, is make them better in places. So, of course, this is a lot of GM speak, but you still like to hear it. But there was some interesting stuff. I did an article today about how they're expecting to have less undrafted free agents because the pool of players for this year's draft is smaller, because basically every college player could go back this year.
Correct.
Every one of them, because every not only did they not count 2020 as a year of eligibility, Every player that would have been on a team in 2020 gains an extra year of eligibility. So I had to put it in this. I had to quote someone else for this, that if you were a freshman this year and you actually played, doesn't count as a year played, and you get a bonus year for eligibility, you can play 6 years. You could have 6 years of eligibility. And that's crazy. But because of that, players that don't think that they're going to get drafted and could maybe, normally be in that pool decided to go back and try to improve their stock, which you don't blame them. So that was something interesting from there. He listed some positions that they thought were really deep in this class. He said offensive line, wide receiver, running back. I thought it was funny they listed running back there. Outside linebacker, inside linebacker, and cornerback were the ones that I had that he specifically mentioned. And he said that all the centers are starter capable, or not all, but a lot of the centers are starter capable right off the bat. They took questions from everyone that said they talked about the team this year, kind of got an idea. People were like, oh, if it's Chooks and Banner to start off, which one's going to be left? Which one's going to be right? Coach Tomlin put that to bed. He said Chooks at left, penciled in April, which means nothing. Did you get to listen to it at all or catch any highlights of it, Rich?
No.
But you probably read our articles.
I've read up. Yep, I did.
Yes.
Read articles.
So basically know what was said, but didn't actually hear the word yourself. So
Correct.
There's a lot of people like that didn't catch it. I recommend it just because, my goodness, we haven't heard from Coach Tomlin since the middle of January. It was fantastic. So anything that you read about it that I didn't hit on that you wanted to bring up or anything?
Besides the fact that, Kevin Colbert says mock drafts are a waste of time. No, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Kevin.
Yeah, because you just don't know what's going to happen. Well, what we're going to talk about tonight is it's the evolution of the Steelers draft for 2021. Meaning, and this isn't as much for the Steelers. Well, it is some with the Steelers because your idea going into the draft evolves through free agency and things like that. But this is as much for fans and for your ever hated mock drafts and things like that, how much they've changed since the Steelers played their last game till they go into the draft right now. A lot of things change. And I thought no better way to do this, which would be kind of fun, than let's review my 15 articles of Mock Draft Monday. If you don't know what these are, every Monday I have an article.
Dude, you're making my eye twitch. What are you doing?
Sorry. You all right, bro?
No. Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
No, I was absolutely fine. You were making my eye twitch by wanting to talk mock drafts. So,
I want to talk mock draft. That's become your trigger word now, hasn't it?
That's
mock
right.
drafts. Okay. You want to release the Hulk? Hey, Rich.
No.
Mock drafts.
Yeah.
So then we need something to, sun's getting low, big fella. Sorry. If you don't watch the Marvel movies, you have no idea what I was talking about. But I did 15 mock draft Mondays. You're saying, okay, what's that? Oh, at BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. Your one-stop shop for all things Pittsburgh Steelers. I took this over last year because Jeff basically said, hey, Dave, you're doing this. And so I did. And every Monday I would just highlight a mock draft. I tried to get them from reliable sources. There was a couple in there that were a little sketchy, but it was a time in the process where everyone had the same 4 players going to the Steelers, and we'd already covered them. But it's interesting to see different players that went to the Steelers at different times. So we're going to start looking at this. Because when I started this Mock Draft Monday, it actually started on Monday, January 18th. And on Monday, January 18th, I ran my first mock draft. It was an NBC Sports mock draft. I even have the sources for these, where they mocked edge rusher Jalen Phillips of the University of Miami Dolphins, University of Miami Hurricanes, to the Pittsburgh Steelers. There was a lot of people not happy with that. But it was an interesting thing. A lot of people were thinking the Steelers were going to lose Bud Dupree. But also a lot of people might not have looked into the whole idea that the Steelers did have Alex Highsmith. I have not seen a mock draft since then that mocked Jalen Phillips to the Steelers. And unlike you,
how things change.
Yeah, unlike you, I have to read a bunch of them. Now, some of them I'm not reading each one. Luckily, I found a website that just gives me a list of every mock draft if I click on it, that they compile it, which is real nice. They even had ours on there from Behind the Steel Curtain. So I just find that was interesting. So back in January, that's how it started. NBC had Jalen Phillips. So now he's still projected to be a first-round pick, if you know what I mean, because that's another thing that we want to look at too here is where are these players? Are they still in the same, you know what I'm saying? Are they still in the same thing? So I can tell you.
Has their stock held or has it fallen?
So I'll go
has someone else's stock risen?
Yeah.
Things like that.
I'm just going to, because it's an easy one where I can filter stuff, I'm going to use CBS Sports. They have, I don't know if you guys hear that. Can you hear that? Now it's
whatever you're asking, I didn't hear it.
Okay. An ad started playing on this page, and I'm like, I hope they don't hear this on the podcast. I don't even know what it was about. But Jalen Phillips is ranked number 21 overall. So that's still right around the same area of where they should go. Now, whether or not he'd be a good fit for the Steelers, I haven't seen that since. So that just kind of tells you where we start. The next week, January 25th, CBS Sports. I think they got kind of ambitious of people that they thought that might kind of rise. They mocked the Steelers' offensive tackle Spencer Brown from the University of Northern Iowa. Now, once again, I have not seen Spencer Brown mocked to the Steelers since then in the first round. I've seen him mocked to the Steelers, some in the second, but a lot of them in the third round, that he's not a player that they thought he might really shoot up the boards. But, you know, with all these old things, you know, I think there's a lot of offensive linemen that did not play in 2020 that they're trying to get a gauge on how they're going to be. So he's someone here. I have to hit C more because he's so far down the list for CBS. And I don't know why it's not showing up for me, that he's not projected to be a first round pick at all. So like I said, he would be someone that you could likely get in the second, but most likely get in the third round. So it kind of goes to show that from the month of, that was the only two that came for the month of January, that when we're talking about mock drafts and stuff in January, they didn't look anywhere close to what they do now. So let's move to February. February 1st. Oh, here's a good one. Another CBS Sports. They had the Steelers getting cornerback J.C. Horn from South Carolina. That's another one I have not seen to the Steelers since. But part of that is because a lot of people have him going high and a lot of other people have him going low. There's the cornerback. There's some good cornerbacks. Last night on Brian's draft, the person picking for the Steelers took Greg Newsome, cornerback out of Northwestern, who isn't someone who's on our list. But like J.C. Horn is projected to possibly even go as high as 10. But they really don't know where the corners are going to go. Could you get someone like Caleb Farley, who a lot of people have high based on his numbers, but he's got major medical red flags, and we still don't know where these guys are. So that was the first one. Any thoughts so far, Rich? Or are you just taking it all in until we're done?
I hate mock draft.
So here you go. The next week, February 8th, is where we start to get some interesting stuff.
Now, you did 15 of these, right?
Yeah. Every one of them was a different player.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. Is there any chance that any of these, so really, you know, in 15 weeks, 15 shots, oh, look, here, look, we got one. Woo.
Yeah, so the question then is going to be, are any of these players actually going to be who the Steelers get? Here's one that's kind of realistic. This was from Pro Football Network, second week of February. They had offensive tackle, Oklahoma State, Tevin Jenkins. That's a possibility.
Okay.
But now he's starting to rise up some boards that they're thinking he might not be available for the Steelers pick, because some people have him with another one that we have talking about later, even flip-flop now. But CBS has Tevin Jenkins 23, which is, the Steelers pick 24. That would make a lot of sense. Okay. That one was interesting. Then moving on, the next one that I had this is what a lot of people are really going to go to. This was from Elite Sports New York. This was February 15th. They had running back Najee Harris out of Alabama. No, I've seen this one all over the place since. The Tevin Jenkins, seen him to the Steelers a ton since I covered it. He's one of those that I'd click on, Tevin Jenkins, don't go to another. Tevin Jenkins, go to another. Same with Najee Harris, running back from Alabama. A lot of speculation of him going to Pittsburgh, but I'm going to be honest, when it comes to Najee Harris, I am so sick of certain people constantly talking about Najee Harris that it makes me not like Najee Harris. And I don't want to not like him if he's the Steelers pick. But I mean, that's why the mute feature on Twitter is really nice during draft week, when people just won't be quiet about certain players. And you're just like, there you go. If he's with the Steelers because they like him, that's fine. I would not be shocked if it's another J.K. Dobbins. If it's another, if he's there, they're going to take him, and he's there and they don't take him. That'll be really interesting to see. But he's another one that's been in the Steelers a lot. You've heard that name with the Steelers a lot, correct? Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. So then the next week, sticking with the same school, the last one in February, the 22nd of February, from Sports Illustrated, they had the Steelers taking center Landon Dickerson from Alabama. Now, this is what he's a guy that is literally all over the place.
Yep.
Because of, and just so you know, CBS says Najee Harris is 34 best prospect, but the top running back. But when it comes to Landon Dickerson, he is all over the place, mainly because of medical stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If you watch his tape when he's healthy, my goodness, can that guy play? And it's kind of one of those times where it's like, if you knew this is what you're going to get, this guy would be a steal. There's just so many bad knees and so many different things that you have to worry about. Let's just say this. If he goes to the right team, I hope his medicals are great. If he goes to the wrong team, I don't want to wish ill on anybody, but if you know what I mean. So that was February. So the Steelers, it was J.C. Horn, Tevin Jenkins, Najee Harris, Landon Dickerson. I think those four are all four realistic. With the most non-realistic, I would say J.C. Horn, because I just don't know that he'll be available. But like we said, we really don't know who anyone's going to take.
Right.
Would you be okay with any of those four players selected?
Sure. Why not?
Yeah. I mean, especially if the Steelers like him. So let's go ahead and move to March. This is where it got really interesting. I had to cover this one because I'm like, I actually said this to Jeff. I'm like, should I even do this one? He's like, one, is it going to be a problem that everyone's going to mock it again? I'm like, absolutely not. He says, two, will it drive discussion amongst our commenters? I'm like, absolutely. NFL.com had a major fall to where the Steelers selected quarterback Justin Fields out of Ohio State. That was March 3rd. Okay, you're giving the thumbs down. Tell me why you're giving the thumbs down.
Partly because, honestly, I don't buy him as a quarterback.
I buy him more than someone like Mac Jones, in all honesty.
Maybe, but I really don't buy either one of them.
I've always said beware of the Alabama and Ohio State quarterbacks. They're coming from a great program with lots of great players. It's hard to say who makes who and everything. But honestly, if he fell to the Steelers and they took him, I'm not going to complain. I'm really not. I'm okay with that. I just really don't see it happening.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah. And it's funny. People are like, oh, no, not a quarterback. But you know what? People are like, why are you taking a quarterback? You got bad next year. You need people that can help you this year. What if the Steelers were to take a wide receiver? And wouldn't people be like, well, you could be losing Juju and James Washington next year, so it's not that bad. Well, you know what? You could be losing Ben Roethlisberger next year too. So you could put those two positions in the same boat. What do you think?
First thing I think is, go back and read your article that you did on, how long it takes to get players acclimated based on where they're picked.
Yeah. And that we can acclimate them faster if they're in the first round.
Yep.
Yep. So there's the Justin Fields. You all right? Your microphone's going thunk thunk.
Oh, I'm tapping it.
Oh, yeah.
I just hit it.
Gotcha. All right. Just making sure. All right. Didn't want people to start complaining in the live chat. So here's the next one. So we got Justin Fields. The next one, March 8th. This was Pro Football Network. Had the Steelers taking linebacker Zaven Collins out of Tulsa. So this was the one that I think had Michael Beck jumping for joy. I've seen some people put Collins to the Steelers. A lot of places have him within the next couple picks after them. A lot of Steeler fans are like, I just don't want to see him go to Cleveland or Baltimore. Can completely understand. CBS has him at 30. How would you feel if the Steelers went inside linebacker? Well, and he's kind of a hybrid. He could play either one, and some places are calling him an edge. I think he'd be more of a better fit inside linebacker next to Devin Bush. Would you all right with that one?
I take this over a quarterback.
There you go. All right. So moving on. Oh,
and we talked about inside linebacker in particular at one point, that if you got the right guy and it's the guy and if he was the
guy I was talking about.
Right. and to me, if the Steelers take him, it's because he's the guy they really want.
Exactly. And
he's the guy they see, we could put this guy in next to Devin Bush and we could be in really great shape.
I know some people that's a head scratcher. Why would you take
if he happened to be there and the Steelers didn't take him, that's because they're happy where they're at and didn't see this guy as a major upgrade.
Exactly. My thing is sometimes in the first round, and when people are like, why are the Steelers taking this? They really need A, whether it's in the first round, second round. I like it when that happens because you know why? That means they liked a player so much more than going for a need.
Yes.
I mean, I go back to the Juju Smith-Schuster pick. So many people, oh my goodness, the Steelers needed a corner. Why are they taking a wide receiver? He worked out pretty good. You know? Yeah. So that when they take a player at a position that you can, I mean, I don't want them to take a player at a position that's never going to see the field. You know what I'm saying? You don't want that. I mean, but at the same time, I mean, but then you say like quarterback? I'm like, well, they would eventually, but it's if they took someone, if they're going to go inside linebacker in the first round, that's because, like you say, it's someone that's going to, I mean, to me, it completely changes their defense. It completely takes their defense to something different, to have that kind of, Kevin Colbert talked about it Thursday. He talked about basically Ryan Shazier kind of started this before it got popular. That type of linebacker, that type of inside linebacker that you now get in Devin Bush, if you know what I mean. And that's the way the NFL is moving. So if you're talking about filling both linebacker positions with that kind of people like, I actually had someone tell me in an article, Zaven Collins can't cover. You do realize he's like the highest graded coverage linebacker since 2011 in all of college football. So yeah, he can cover. So if that's where you're going, I understand, but I don't feel like they have to do that. They don't have to go in that direction. So
no, they don't.
Well, rather than we're halfway through March, actually we got 3 more in March. We're going to go ahead and take a break. We're going to finish up March, look at how these mock drafts came in April, talk about kind of our own evolution of how things have gone for the Steelers. And bring it all back, of course, you've got the big question that comes at the end that everyone's going to chime in on. So if you're listening to us on the audio platform, go ahead and click over to part 2. If you're here on YouTube or Facebook, give us a few seconds and we'll be right back. And we are back, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, with the second part of the Scho Bro Show. I am Dave Schofield, co-editor behind thesteelcurtain.com, and with me, as always, is my big brother, Rich. How you feeling, Crispy?
Really?
Yeah. Sorry.
Really?
I had to bring the topic back up. So, how you doing, big bro?
Apparently, I'm crispy. So
you're crispy. No, nope.
You know what? I'm doing okay. I'm doing my best to power through. I'm getting tired of all the mock draft stuff because I hate mock drafts.
I understand, but this is what we do.
I'm trying to get through and power through all the mock draft stuff. I will be a happy camper once we hit Thursday evening and we start actually getting into, okay, this is what is really happening.
Yep. So, for those of you that might just be joining us now, we're going over where I highlighted a different mock draft every Monday since the middle of January up until this past Monday, to see where these players have fallen. So just to highlight real quick, it was starting on January 18th, Jalen Phillips, edge, Miami. Then January 25th, Spencer Brown, offensive tackle, UNI, because there's another Spencer Brown that plays a different position. So we realized that January, very unlikely to happen, especially with Brown looking to be more like a day 2 guy. Then February, it was cornerback J.C. Horn, tackle Tevin Jenkins, running back Najee Harris, center Landon Dickerson. That was February. We said that we could see any of those players. Horn's probably the biggest stretch because of availability. But if he were to fall, I would be fine if the Steelers took him. But like I said, we might think he's fallen, but that NFL teams would have to take him. So far in March, we said the crazy NFL.com one that had Justin Fields falling to the Steelers at 24. And just so you know, every one of these mock drafts, I didn't do anyone that had the Steelers trading up or down. It was at pick 24. So they had Justin Fields. Then the next week, we had Zaven Collins from Tulsa. Getting to the middle of March, we had offensive tackle Jalen Mayfield from Michigan. Now, he's an interesting one because ever since his pro day, he's fallen a good bit.
Yep.
And I would be really surprised to see the Steelers take him in round 1.
I would be really surprised to see anybody take him in round 1.
Yeah, I think he's fallen to a day 2 because once again, he's another guy that he didn't play last year.
Yep.
So, I mean, a lot of these Big Ten and Pac-12 players, when they said they weren't having a season, they opted out. They started to prepare for the draft. And by doing that, they probably stopped doing, unenrolled in school. Then when they came back to say, oh, we're going to have a season, it was too late for them. The very top guys, like the very top tackles are guys that didn't play. So that's interesting. So that Jalen Mayfield, that was an interesting one. Then I did on March 22nd, Fox Sports had running back Javonte Williams of North Carolina going to the Steelers.
Okay.
Now, honestly, if that's the guy they like and they took him there, I wouldn't. I mean, CBS has him ranked as number 40. A lot of people love him as their second round pick, but I don't know that he would be there. So if they loved it enough, that's fine. It would just really depend on how the draft would fall. And let's go ahead and get the last one from March because it was from who did that one? Like Anchor Sports Network, I think it was, had offensive tackle Liam Eichenberg from Notre Dame going to the Steelers. A lot of people felt that was a bit of a reach there because since then he's fallen. He's like ranked 80. So he's a guy that some people are saying, oh, round 2, maybe even round 3 if the Steelers really wanted it. So, and that rounds out March. So March had a quarterback, a linebacker, 2 tackles, and a running back. You think in February had more of a chance than March so far?
I think
Yeah.
if I were grading a month, February was the best one.
Yeah. There were some good ones in March, but some not good ones. But I'll be honest with you, March was the month that I struggled because so many of them, it seemed like every other mock draft that I looked at had Tevin Jenkins at that time. But then I haven't seen Jenkins to the Steelers for a while, which is interesting. Now all I can find is Najee Harris. So that was March. Let's go ahead and hit the last 4 of April. April was where it got crazy. I went with this. This was CBS.
Well, we love crazy.
Yeah.
I mean,
this was on your birthday.
Think about us and our family. I mean, we are crazy.
We embrace the craziness.
Well, yes.
So, yeah. But on April
all right, so
5th,
my birthday,
CBS Sports had the Steelers taking edge rusher Carlos Basham. I think it's Basham or Basham. Basham would sound better as edge rusher. Junior out of Wake Forest, which everyone was screaming, reach. Reach. And I'm pretty sure that one had linebacker Micah Parsons falling to the Steelers, and they didn't take him. And they took a 4-3 edge rusher instead. So there's, some people say, well, Basham might be, or Basham. Once again, I'll keep screwing up names. Could be in play for the Steelers in round 2. I really don't know that it's a scheme fit. If they want an edge rusher, I just don't know that most colleges play 4-3, but some guys are better suited to play the 4-3. Like he's 6'5", 285, and things like that. So that one was interesting. Then the next week, April 12th, was at the time, everyone's like, oh, were you crazy? This player, no way. And then, you know what? Since this time, he shot up some boards to where some people think he could be in play in some places. Now, not everyone has it. But that is linebacker. It looks like Jamin, but I think it's Jamin Davis out of Kentucky, who's ranked 43 on CBS. That some people said that they could see the Steelers taking a flyer on him. He's actually the next ranked linebacker behind Zaven Collins. And in that draft, Zaven Collins went one pick before the Jets. So they had the Steelers, before the Steelers to the Jets. So they had the Steelers take the next linebacker, which I don't know that that's what they would do. They haven't done that since Artie Burns. They haven't done that since Artie Burns, where the guy they wanted went right in front of them. So that one was interesting. But we finished up strong with the final 2 mock draft Mondays. With on April 19th, Pro Football Network had the
day
Steelers
after your birthday?
Day after my birthday. They had the Steelers taking center Creed Humphrey out of Oklahoma. Some people call that a reach. I say I don't think that's as reach as much because when you're talking about a position of need, that kind of makes players move up your board a little bit. That's a player that, that would depend on how the draft would fall. If all these other players linked to the Steelers aren't there, and that's going to be their best option, I could see it. And then let's go ahead and finish this up. I had actually saved Travis Etienne to do for the last week to make sure I had someone that was more, this is more in line of what could actually happen with the Steelers. All the mock drafts stopped sending him to the Steelers. I saw him all the time, and I went to do them, and then Jeff was like, we have an article coming out about him later in that day, so let's not double it up. I'm like, okay, well, I got another option. I would check with him to make sure we weren't covering the same players. Then no mock drafts had any end, so he wasn't covered in this. Instead, it was a very common thing that I've been seeing of falling to the Steelers that people are still like, no way, he's not going to be there. But CBS Sports had the Steelers picking up offensive tackle Christian Darrisaw of Virginia Tech.
Yep.
That he fell to them. If he falls to them, I see that happening.
Oh, if he falls to them, get him.
Yeah. So there we go with April. It was Basham, Davis, Humphrey, and Darrisaw. Where do you put that in the list of the months? You think that was better than March, or do you think? I still think February has the most likely candidates.
I think February I kind of liked. Yeah, that one was better than March.
That was better than March? Okay.
Yeah.
Although the first one Basham. I'm
Yeah.
going to Basham. That was thrown out the window. Davis is something that I could, is a possibility, but I don't know about that one. But then, the last two gave some more possibilities. So very interesting stuff with that. So that just, the whole point of this was to kind of show how the evolution, this Tyler W says, Big Bro, this is your last day of mock draft punishment. Huzzah! So very interesting stuff. The question is, are you taking these 15 or are you taking the rest of the field for the Steelers' first pick?
Am I betting?
Don't give me a name. Don't give me a name yet.
No, I'm not giving you a name. No, am I putting money down on this?
No.
If I'm putting money down on this, I'm taking the field.
Then it would be someone that we did not cover there. So
correct.
Okay? Yeah. Lumberzack says it is Basham. Good. Like bash them. If that's it, that's great. That's how I want to say it, but I'm afraid that I'm saying it how I want to and not what it really is. So how has the Steelers, we've looked at this. Part of the reason that these mock drafts have changed so much, and like I say, they're a different name each week because I set it up that way.
Yeah,
but
because when I went to cover different players, it's no good to cover 15 weeks of mock draft and talk about the same person every week.
Exactly. And when I was going to cover, I was going to do Eddie N the last week of March. But I just done a running back the week before in Williams. So I'm like, I'll wait another week. And then it was like, we have another article coming out on him. So then I waited again. Then by the end, I couldn't find anyone having the Steelers taken. And, that's Chysap's guy. That's the guy he wants the Steelers to take. He thinks out of all the running backs, he's the best fit for Matt Canada's scheme.
There you go. And that's, it's funny. Yeah. So one of the guys I was fishing with today was Steelers fan, and we talk Steelers stuff all the time. And he asked me that in terms of which running back do I like the most. I said, well, it kind of depends. Well, first thing he said, stop being your brother and actually, actually commit to something. I said, fine. I said, but before I commit to one or the other, let me tell you, I feel that Etienne fits Matt Canada's offense better, but Najee Harris is more the prototypical
Steeler running back,
air quotes there.
Yeah.
Steeler running back. So, but I told him realistically, the one that I could see being there more would probably be Harris. I have a feeling somebody else is going to grab Etienne before he would get to us.
Because think of it. Last year,
if he falls, go get him.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. All the running backs could still be there. Remember, last year running back wasn't taken until 32. And it wasn't even the running back that everyone thought was the best one.
Correct.
And that's who they took. And it's so funny because I was talking with one Jefferson Hartman today about some of these things. We were talking over Slack, and then I had my daughter takes a sewing class on Tuesdays, and I usually have errands to run, and I didn't. And I'm like, this isn't very far from where Jeff lives. So I, swung by and talked to him about some draft stuff real quick when my daughter was in class on a nice weather day. But he was saying about the running backs, he's like, all three of them are so closely graded to say, well, this one's 1, this one's 2, this one's 3. It really comes down to each team's individual preference. It could be that if let's say one of the running backs is going to be selected at pick, I'm going to just make it up one that's I'm going to say pick 17. I don't even know who's picking there. But at pick 17, someone's going to take a running back. Well, if it's one team, that running back could have been Harris. If it's another team, that running back could have been Etienne. And believe it or not, there's a couple teams out there that would have Williams higher for them if they had to take one in that spot. That's all based on fit. It really is. So don't say that if one of these running backs goes first, that they were the best one. It was the best one for that team, and that team needed the running back at this time. So that's kind of how it goes. But it's also just interesting because I had said something. It was Tom. It's Pelissero, I guess I say it right, from NFL Network. Said something today that I kind of agree with. That he said, although this draft is deep, it's not extremely top heavy. There's not as many first round graded guys in this year's draft as there have been in recent years.
Right.
He said, he's like, he only has it at about 15 or 16 players. So guys that the Steelers are getting at 24 are guys that last year would have very likely been day two picks in some eyes. Some people think, oh no, this draft has so many good players. You know, the Steelers have great possibilities, but we're also comparing this to last year when we were looking at what they could be getting at 49, where they didn't have a first round pick.
Right.
So it's just really interesting to kind of see how it goes. But I don't know that any of these running backs would have gone into the first round last year. How they are right now, but if it was last year, I don't know if any of them would have gone in the first round last year. I just don't know. I can't say for sure that they could, and I'm definitely, if I had to bet, I would have said no. But that's just my own personal guess. So this draft, I mean, and it lays out so differently. Like we said, there's a lot of really good tackles, but there's also a lot of tackles that didn't play this past year. Looking for someone like our 4th round pick from our mock draft, Walker Little out of Stanford.
Yep.
Very likely would have been a first round draft pick 2 years ago, possibly even last year. But he played, like, I think if I get it right, he played like 1 game in 2019 before he got injured for the season. And then he opted out of 2020 because he was told, don't even bother, go get ready for the draft because we're not having a season. And then it was too late. His coach told him to opt out, that was the wise thing for him to do. So he hasn't played. And now we're talking about, is he a round 4 guy? Is he a round 1 guy? We don't know. Right. It's crazy.
I'll tell you what, that had a lot of college coaches, and fans hot. Yeah. When leagues did that, where it was like, nope, we're not going to have a season. And it's like, oh, well, maybe we'll have, some season.
Yeah.
What were guys supposed to do?
What were they supposed to do?
They can't just sit around and do nothing.
Yeah. I mean, they could have just gone to school, still had team meetings, but no, they might not play. But if you're going to the draft, you could have, I mean, look at this. Why do some players not play in their bowl games? Part of it is getting hurt, but they're taking their training and everything else to the next level. So that kind of evolved. To me, who I've wanted the Steelers to take has kind of evolved. I was really big on the Zaven Collins train. It was one night after a certain episode of the preview, I was talking with one Brian Anthony Davis, and I told him the whole notion, like, if you add a linebacker like this, just think how it changes the defense. And boom, he was more sold than I was after I was talking to him about some of this stuff. And I'm not saying Vince Williams is the answer, but you're also talking, they bring back Vince Williams. There was talk of Avery Williamson. I could see that not being the pick as well. So I've kind of constantly been changing on who I think the Steelers will take or who I'd like them to take over, just as much as this. I mean, this mock draft Monday has influenced me so much, just like Jeff Hartman saying he's been doing these player breakdowns. And it's like, I look at these, I'm like, oh man, I hope the Steelers don't take this guy, or, oh wow, I really hope they do. It's all changed so much.
Yep.
But you hate mock drafts. So for you, it's just like, I just want the Steelers to get a good player, right?
For me right now, there's just one rule of thumb that Kevin Colbert has to stick to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Don't reach. I think as long as he doesn't reach, the Steelers will be fine. The fan base will be okay. And everything will work out all right for the Steelers.
Yeah.
Don't reach. This is one of those years where they can literally walk in, say, you know what? When it gets to number 24, we're going to take best available. And I don't think there can be a whole lot of complaining.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, here, Thaddeus just asked us. He said, are these running backs better than Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who was the first picked running back last year? I can't say that they are. And what's funny is before Etienne decided to go back to school for this year, a lot of places were mocking him to the Steelers with their 2nd round pick last year. So you're telling me that guy last year was a late 2nd round pick, and now they're, And it's hard for us to judge. We're just going to have to see what happens.
This is hard to say. They could be. I mean, all three of these guys, those three top guys that we talked about, could all be better than that.
Yeah.
And they could all potentially be worse.
Yeah. I'm telling you, my biggest fear with running back is people like, oh, well, you don't have them for very many years, everything else. My biggest thing is, and it's so funny because I kept trying to explain this to people because they're like, oh, you're just thinking because of James Conner. No, the running back position is brutal and guys miss games.
Yep.
I mean, Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, 2020. That's all you have to say. You know, you could have the best of the best and they just aren't going to be available for you. Now, that could happen to anybody at any position. But for some reason, just me personally, I feel like that's more of a chance at that position more than anything else. I want to read to you a tweet that I sent out. I think it was yesterday. Got a lot of likes on it, you know, almost 100. And I don't hardly have any followers. So it was got some retweets and stuff. But this is what I said.
That sounded an awful lot like a humble brag right there.
Oh, no. No, well, no.
Not from you.
When one Jefferson Hartman shares it and retweets it, then everyone's going to start liking it. So, but this is what I said. There are 10 words I want to hear from Kevin Colbert Thursday night after the Steelers make their first pick. When he goes to when he's at the sitting down, have the press conference about it. Here are the 10 words I want to hear. He was too good to pass up in that spot.
Yeah,
that's what I want to hear.
Yep,
he was too good to pass up in that spot. I don't care who the player is. I don't care who it is. Just that he was too good to pass up in that spot. So, and I was thinking, at first I was like, no running back. Then I'm like, I really can't. Then I really got on board with running back. And now I'm just like, I'm leery again. Then it was offensive tackle. Oh, I understand. If you get a really good one, that's really great. Yeah. And then I'm like, not so much. I'm like, maybe they could take a game-changing linebacker. No, not so much. I have changed. I have evolved throughout the whole process. And then, so the question is, where did I land? Where did I land? And so this brings us to the big question tonight, Rich. I'm going to lay this out to everyone now. I'm going to ask the question. You know the rules. If you put it in there before I put it in the chat, I'm not bringing it up. Because this was going to take some time because you and I are both going to answer this question first. Then we'll turn it to the live chat. And I'm going to say how it works. This question is, who's going to the Steelers at 24? We're just assuming there's no trade or anything like that. Who are the Steelers taking at 24? Now,
sorry,
don't type it in yet.
I was starting to get on board with the whole, maybe the Packers or somebody we could trade back with.
Yeah, with Michael Beck's articles today.
Yeah.
Well, and so this is going to be the question I'm going to bring up, but please wait because there's rules. You give me just a position, I'm not bringing it up. You give me two names, it's going to be so-and-so or so-and-so, not bringing it up. If you put a position with a player, like if you want to say, let's quarterback Ben Roethlisberger, you know what I mean?
Yep.
That's fine. But one name, you can give me just last name or first name, last name, not more than one player. That's the rules. And if you don't follow the rules, I'm not going to bring it up. You guys know how that works. I'm just going to be like that. So, Rich, I already have mine locked in. I already told Jeff today. So you're not going to influence.
Okay.
At pick number 24, they go to the podium. The Pittsburgh Steelers select.
Okay, I've been back and forth and all over the place here. And, I said earlier, if I was betting, I'd take the field. But I'm going to take someone that you mock draft. Okay? And I'm only going back to this only because I got on board with it.
Stop in the live chat.
Yeah, everybody quit. It won't come up yet. Nope. Didn't actually put it there.
You know what? We might even have to put you in none of that. You do it, we're going to put you to timeout.
Yeah. Quit it.
If you do it, the timeout's coming. Don't answer yet.
Now.
Okay.
I'm going back originally because I started to get on board with it, and this would be such a Steeler kind of thing to do.
Uh-huh.
The Pittsburgh Steelers with the 24th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft select Zaven Collins, linebacker.
Oh, I would love it. I would love it. I would love it. I would love it. I would.
So, you know, that is the one that, although I'm not, I've been off of it for a while. It is the one that I so could see because it would be such a Steeler thing to do.
And then people are like, "Oh, it can't be because the Colbert and Tomlin weren't at the prayer." No, forget that. Forget that. That's not that. This could be. You know, they didn't go to that many pro days.
Going to happen?
Yeah,
no. But I am saying that if Thursday night I'm sitting there, if that comes out and that's what happens, there will be zero shock from this guy.
Okay. Now here's mine, and some people aren't going to like this. Do you know why? They're going to call it a reach, but it's not a reach because if the Steelers like it enough, then do it.
Okay.
Okay. So that's what I'm saying. But for mine, with the 24th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Steelers select Creed Humphrey, center, Oklahoma.
Okay.
Ravens fans are so ecstatic that they have 2 picks at the end of the first round. They think they're going to get Creed Humphrey with one of those. Everyone else is like, "Oh, take Humphrey in a second." No, he's not going to. I don't think he's going to be there. If he's the guy that they think is going to make the difference, the biggest concern I have with him, of the Steelers taking him there, which you know, is the fact that he's
I know. I say that wrong all the time.
Did you say Zach? I missed it. I thought you said Zaven. I don't know. I thought you said Zaven. Sorry.
No, I didn't. I said I did it, and I did it when I was talking with Tim today on the boat, and he was like, "You mean?" I was like, "Yes."
I didn't even catch it. I didn't even catch it. But when it comes to Creed Humphrey, the biggest question mark that I have that would only say if the Steelers didn't like this is that he's a left-handed center. I don't know if that means squat to them or not, but it could be enough to make them not want to take him in the first round, but I don't think it would. I'm just saying I think the draft could play out to where the Steelers could have someone there that they didn't expect and they take him. A David DeCastro moment. But if that doesn't happen, then this is the kind of pick that I see them making. Okay? So, You're ready, and there it is. It is now in the live chat for me to start clicking on these when people put them in there. I know some people have not been commenting because they probably had them already typed in, ready to hit enter as soon as they saw it. So there it is. It's both on Facebook and YouTube.
No, they weren't because you did that. Oh, no, there came a gazillion of them.
Then a bunch of them. They all, I know. There was so many, seriously, so many people were waiting. It froze the live
froze the system. Nice.
I can't even find it.
Are you ready?
I'm going back. Bring up the first, as long as it, I can't even find, oh my goodness, where is it?
Here's the first one. Never ender.
Okay.
Offensive tackle.
Zaven Jenkins. Creed. Zaven Collins. Kathy. Zach Collins.
Yeah.
Kathy. Creed Humphrey. There you go. I see it. Kyle Smith, linebacker. JOK. I'm not even going to try to say his name. I'd be on board with that one too. That's a good one. Okay. Steeler Chick 46. I don't know if this is her choice or if she was just correcting you. Zaven Collins.
I know.
Okay.
Everybody correct.
Max says Caleb
Dave and I are brothers.
Yeah. Max says Caleb Farley, quarterback, Virginia Tech. That one would scare me to death. Jeff sent out a paper that was his medical concerns and the back things that he's had. He has nerve issues. He can't like fully move his big toe right now from some of the stuff from the surgeries that he's had. That one scares me in round 1. That one really does. Okay. Tyler W. Landon Dickerson, center. Bert, is that Tavares? He says Najee Harris. Well, he says Harris, but I know what he meant. Okay. Garrett Slingerland, center, Landon Dickerson. If they're okay with the medicals, I could see that as well. Seth Bell says running back Williams. Okay.
Yep.
Nathaniel typed out the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
In order to say Christian Darrisaw, offensive tackle for G-Tech. I would love that pick. I would love that pick.
So would I.
I just don't know that he's available.
Yeah.
Yep.
If he's available, no issues there.
Yeah. I would take him over almost anybody else that would be available there, if you know what I'm saying. Like, yeah. Okay. Like someone says, oh, what if Darrisaw and Fields are there? I'd take Darrisaw. What if Darrisaw and JC Horn felt? I'd take Darrisaw. You know, that's me. Tate Boy says linebacker Zaven Collins. Lumberzack says Najee, meaning Harris. Steelers Pittsburgh says Jenkins. That is Tevin Jenkins. Ezra Nehemiah, he's been saying this for a long time up there that he wants to play.
I was going to say,
so I'm not even going to say
brought
it.
him up, but
So
don't do it.
CD had this before. He says safety slot corner Trevor Moore. Did I say it right?
I don't know. I'd say Morig.
Yeah. Okay. We'll go with that. Okay. James Bradshaw says offensive lineman Tevin Jenkins. How do you say that name?
Gannon 007.
Gannon. Okay. Gannon 007. He says Najee Harris at 24. Okay. Mac Ledoux says Tremble. Okay. I'm trying to think of Tremble. That's the we needed Tremble at the pick. Yeah. I'm trying to I can't, I'm going to say the wrong position, so I'm just not going to say it at all.
Nope.
Thaddeus has one that falls. Vera Tucker. Honestly, if he was there, I'm fine with the Steelers taking him. Sure. He's more of a guard, though. That's the problem. Is that I think the need at guard isn't there. I think if they draft him, it would be to play tackle, but I don't know that's where he's best fitted, unless that's what the Steelers believe. Okay. Patricia says Najee Harris. Okay. This person, Verge, we're just leaving it at that. Says Alex Leatherwood. Okay, that's another offensive tackle. Okay. Should I do the next one? Will you read it?
Go ahead.
All right. Go ahead. You read it.
No, you read it. Do it.
No, I can't. I can't do it right.
What?
What the Steelers select. Whoop! Philor at number 24. Shout out to Chris Berman. Whoop! Whoop! Sorry, I couldn't help it. Okay. Mark has more than a name, but that's because he said he hoped he spelled it right. He says Travis Etienne. Okay. There's a pronunciation. Russ says Najee Harris. Mike, I'm not even going to try to do the last name, says Quiddy Pay. If he's there, even as an edge rusher, he's a great player. So that's one of those guys that you're like, he's not an edge rusher you would think would be there. And that's why I'm like, edge rushers that are right around that area, I wouldn't want to take. But if a really good one, I mean, you almost have to, say you're going for value. Sherry Richards says Tevin Jenkins. Dusk Thunder says Alex Leatherwood, tackle from Alabama. Okay. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but Barry was saying Creed was his pick as well. Clarence says Harris, and Andrew Wilbaugh says good show. Wilbaugh says good show. I'm looking if there's any other ones. I think that was pretty much everyone that just listed names that were serious. I don't even know that I'll bring up Donald's.
You didn't want to bring that one up?
That he says Mac Jones, because I don't think he's serious. He might be serious. Tyler Kunis says Collins, then put him at outside linebacker. Nah. If they have Collins, I want him inside. That's just what I want. Eric says Javonte Williams. Okay. But we're getting Andrew helping us out with pronunciations. So like I said, we don't always get I don't always hear the names. So that's why. But Rich, lots of interesting names out there. Honestly, there's very few of them that I would be upset with, that I would, even if it was the corner from Virginia Tech, Farley, it would have to be that the Steelers were completely 100% okay.
Correct.
With the medical, which means they know a lot more than I do. I just, kind of hear things which would make me scared with that. But you know what? They don't live in their fears. So they make sure they figure that out, except in the playoffs. So any closing things before the draft?
Can we just please get to the regular draft? I want the real deal.
Yeah. You don't have to you're done. You're done until the draft is here. Speaking of the draft being here, let's let you know what's going on. Okay.
Yeah.
Tomorrow night, there's a live mic, not live mic. Curtain call, because it's Michael and Jeffrey. You'll have that. I'm not exactly sure. They are just previewing the Steelers draft. Not sure what more they have in store there. But then Thursday night, there's no Steelers preview. Friday night, there's no six pack with Tony. Saturday, there's no touchdown under. These are going to be our draft shows. What you will get from us on the audio only side is you will get a breaking news, who the Steelers pick, brief podcast within 10 to 15 minutes after the pick's done. It's going to be there. So on the audio side, look for it and it'll be there. We'll also be going on YouTube not long after that gets published, not long after the Steelers' first round pick, to then talk about the pick, everything else. That's how it's kind of going to go throughout the draft. Because on Friday night, that will happen. You will get the breaking news podcast, and then you'll get a YouTube show not long after the second round pick and the third round pick, unless obviously if there's any trades that mess this up, that'll be different. Then we're on to Saturday. Saturday, every single draft pick, you're going to get the breaking news one. For the fourth round pick, chances are what's going to happen is it'll be going on live after their first fourth round pick and staying on through their second fourth round pick.
Yep.
Then there'll be a long break because the Steelers aren't scheduled to have a fifth round pick. There'll be a show after the sixth round pick, and the seventh round with two selections will be very similar to the fourth round. That is what you will get. Then we'll get back on track. I don't know if there'll be a Tales from 2 a.m. on Sunday or if there'll be something different. That's kind of up to Brian with however he goes to do that. Not only that, we're going to have so much content at behindthesteelcurtain.com. It will be your one-stop and nonstop shop for all things Pittsburgh Steelers throughout the draft process. I'm excited.
Will be? How about is?
Is. It is and it will continue to be. There we go. So we're going to be spending this time with you all. So this is great. So make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel and get the alerts through YouTube, or I don't know how the Facebook stuff works. If that's what you're doing, be looking for us there. We are excited to spend this time with you all. It should be a lot of fun. I'm excited about these players that are going to be the black and gold this fall. I just want to know who they are. And I just want this whole process to get rolling. So we're 48 hours away. Honestly, literally right now, about 48 hours away from when the Steelers will be picking. They'll probably be selecting sometime between 10 and 10:30. So that's where we are. We'll finally know. What do you think about that, Rich?
I can't wait.